We are live here on the MMA Industry Podcast. I am James Lynch here with Jim Edwards, veteran journalist, MMANytt, a bunch of other sites too. We're here in Brooklyn right now, actually. We're about 8 hours away from UFC 223, and I'll apologize in advance for the not so great webcam and not so great audio. We're actually in the lobby here at the Holiday Inn here in downtown Brooklyn. Figured we'd do a podcast. I wasn't able to do one on Thursday, so we're going to just talk about us covering UFC 223 this week, and obviously talking about Jim a little bit here, who I've been trying to get on the show, and it's finally we're in the same city. It's just a lot easier without the time change and all that. But first off, Jim, how you doing? What a week we've experienced here in Brooklyn. It's kind of nuts.
Yeah, before we just jumped on there, we were talking about we're pretty tired, but I'm actually geared up for fight night now. I'm ready for it. It's I think we've talked to a few like the real hardcore vet journalists like John Morgan and Ariel this week, have been saying that it is 100% the craziest fight week we have ever been on. So I feel good in the sense that, I think we've all done a good job. I think collectively as an MMA media, people have, like, obviously there have been a few criticisms, but I think collectively we've done a good job reporting the news. And it's been an experience.
Yeah, it certainly has. Before we get into all that, I want to talk a little bit about you first. You're like a lot of people in this industry. You have a full-time job outside of doing all the great work that you've been doing. How's that been, and what is it that you do for your day job, for people who might be wondering?
Yeah, so I work for Allianz Insurance. It's an insurance company. It's the biggest in the world, actually, I believe, for car insurance. It's based in Germany. I've been there for around 5 years now. I do a bit of a flexible role, really. It's kind of like digital marketing, and that's kind of my background. I kind of do like a lot of kind of social media around the company, not like new propositions and like building kind of like digital products. So that's kind of my background, right? So more in the marketing space, and prior to that, I'd been at a company called Unilever, which is again in more of a brand and marketing role. So that's where I've kind of been all my career. Like you say, 5 days a week, like everyone, well, like most of us, like 90% of the industry.
Yeah, it's people who have those full-time jobs, because it's tough to do this full-time. The money's just not what it is. But one of the things I like doing when I start the show off is kind of talk about how my guest and I met. And if I'm not mistaken, did we meet at UFC 196? It was Diaz McGregor. You were there for that, weren't you?
Yeah.
So I remember, and I just sort of knew about you because you were at MMA Latest at the time, doing the videos, doing all the stuff. Was that where you first started, or was there like a site that you worked for before that?
No, MMA Latest was the first one. I met a few guys that I'm still very friendly with, Matt Wells being one of them. Matt Wells, who works Fansided, Slip and Dip podcast. I kind of met him online, and he kind of invited me to kind of start working for just MMA Latest, and that's where it kind of all began. And I think, like you did, I kind of started off in the video space. Like, if I'm not mistaken, I think you DM'd me one day.
Yeah.
Like, what setup do you use for your interviews you're doing? It's crazy how it's developed, right?
I know.
We go down our separate paths. I think I did my first side-by-side kind of interview online, like I had been doing like years ago. But for the first time in years, like last week with Ioane and Jacek, and I was like having to scramble around like so many people do. Like, what programs do I use? But I mean, that's kind of where I started. I started at MMA Latest. I guess the luxury with me and my full-time job is, although I do work an incredible amount of hours, like when you combine the two together, I do have good money. I've got the good disposable income, and that's how I can get myself to some of the shows that perhaps my outlets can't pay for.
Right. And that's sort of the same thing what I was doing when I had a full-time job was, you do this on the side, you take the money from that and invest it into events. And really events is where you're going to get a lot of your jobs. By the way, I got to give a quick shout out last night to Andrew Lawrence over at Middle Easy. Hosted a really great event last night. It was good to get everyone together. Hunter Homestead was there, Dan Tom. I mean, there's just everyone there last night, and it was good for like us to kind of collaborate and talk about what we've been doing in the media space. And that's why you go to these events. There's a lot of networking. I mean, I can honestly say a lot of the freelance gigs that I've got have been through networking at events, so it's really good to do that. But let's get into UFC 223 this week. You've been here actually pretty early. When did you get in? You got in, was it Monday or Tuesday?
I fancied a holiday, man. I got here on Monday. Well, I thought I was coming for a holiday. So my week, I'll bring it back to Sunday night. So my flight here from London to New York was it was 8 a.m. In London time, but I needed to get to the airport early because I live a bit far away from Heathrow. So my taxi was at 5. So I get into bed at midnight on Sunday night. I literally put my head in the pillow, and I always keep my phone nearby. Like we're 24/7 on. Buzz. As soon as my head hits the pillow, I get a buzz, and I see the text. It's Brett Okamoto says Tony's out, and that was it. That was Sunday night wrap. I didn't go to bed that night. I was just filing reports for all the outlets I work for. So it all started there. Got here Monday, pretty quiet day Monday. Met up with a few of the fighters at the hotel, and then Tuesday it all kicked off. So I was the guy that I guess saw. Was in and around the Artem Lobov and
that's right,
Khabib Nurmagomedov hotel incident. And the story behind that is I was actually working, processing some of the video that I shot on Monday in like the bar area of the hotel, and I saw all this commotion going on down some hallway just opposite where I was, and I actually missed it. But when I ran up to the incident, there were obviously people who had their phones out recording it. And some guy was like, "Look at this, show me the video." And I literally said to him, "Please, can I use your video?" And he was kind enough to say, "Yeah, go for it." And then it's just all gone downhill from there, James. I don't really know what to say. Like Tuesday.
Well, and what's interesting about that is like, so, you know, we saw the video, we saw sort of what happened, and then we heard that it was pretty serious with the fact that Artem had to move hotels.
Yeah. So can I add something? And I haven't published this yet. Not because of, like I'd been asked not to. It was because I wanted a bit more of a complete picture. So after that incident happened, I actually saw Artem.
Oh, okay.
Walking back into the hotel. So directly after that incident happened, he went out. I was told to get some food. He probably kind of wanted to get away from the incident. As he was walking back in from coming out, I said, obviously, this has all gone down. The internet's going crazy. I say to Artem, what happened here? Like, what went on? And he goes, it was just a small scuffle. Like, you know, there was like loads of like Khabib and his friends kind of surrounded me and were getting in my face. He said he used the word intimidating. And then his phone rang, as it does, and he started speaking in Russian to someone for like 20 minutes, and I was just standing there like a bit of an idiot. So I signaled to him that I'm leaving, and he kind of goes like that, and he goes, "Just text me tomorrow, and like we can talk. Like I'll talk on camera, and we can do an interview." Obviously, when I texted him in the morning.
Radio silence.
Silence. It was a WhatsApp message as well, and like I didn't get. I still haven't got the 2 blue ticks. So,
right. It says he read the message.
Yeah. So I mean, talking to a few of the Irish journalists that also obviously know Artem very well, they tried to contact him as well, and it was absolute radio silence until the first time I saw or even heard Artem again was what happened next on the media day.
Yeah, and you know, we don't often give our opinions here on the show. We mainly just like to talk about the media perspective, but I do want to sort of weigh in on the whole thing that happened that night, in the sense that if you're Khabib Nurmagomedov and you're fighting for the lightweight title on Saturday, what the hell are you doing? I get that there's that rivalry between, you know, Artem and you know the gym, and you know Artem's Russian and he's with, you know, SPG, and there's a lot of pride there. Like, what the hell are you doing that when you got the biggest fight of your life on Saturday? I don't get it.
I want to give a shout out to Reddit.
Okay.
MMA. These guys kill me a lot of the time, but you know they there is also a lot of very good stuff that's published on there. And one of the really good things this week was the fact that there was an interview that was translated from Russian, which Artem gave about Khabib, and a lot of it was earlier this week. So we believe that's kind of what sparked it off.
Oh, I see.
We're adding numbers together here and maybe getting 2 + 2 = 5. But what we were told and what that interview said is like, Artem's very, very critical of Khabib, saying he's running away from Conor and that Conor would knock him out and all this, and it was a very.
So that sort of adds to the context of this.
Yeah, but then again, like you go back to the question of you can't be that sensitive. Like this is the fight game, you know. Like
and also like why? Like yes, he's saying this, but like why you say? Well, no, and what are you reading about this for? Like you see that headline, you know, look at it after the fight, man. You got a title fight on Saturday. I don't know. That's just, to me, it's like that should be the main focus as far as that goes. But anyways, kind of going off there. I just wanted to give my 2 cents on that. So. That happens Tuesday. I get here Wednesday. I'm here with my buddies Steve Jeffrey, Liam, Sean Antman. We're all actually staying here at the Holiday Inn. We're sharing a room. You want to talk about the struggle is real covering these events? I'm in like this sardine box of a hotel room with 2 beds, and there's 4 guys, and we're crammed in there just to save some cash because you know, it gets pricey here in Brooklyn. You know this.
It's expensive.
It adds up. Yeah, it definitely adds up. So trying to go as cheap as I can. So anyway,
let me just say something. I'm going to Poland next week. KSW 43. It's costing me an 1/8 of the amount. And like we're not even factoring in like spend money, and it's expensive. It's crazy. It does cost a lot to come to these events,
except for the pizza. The pizza here is cheap, which I like.
Good.
And the pizza's amazing. Which follow me on Instagram at Lynch on Sports. Been documenting a lot of that here and there. But anyway, so yeah, we get in Wednesday. I see you. There's actually a couple fellow journalists here at the hotel as well. So it's been good to, you know, kind of catch up and do all that. But anyway, so you know, Wednesday happens. I'll tell you guys kind of my perspective of what happened. You can get yours. So Wednesday goes on. We get in. I find out ahead of time that they're not doing media scrums after the open workout. So for me, that's no good because I need video content. So what I ended up doing was with Steve and a few of the other journalists that I'm here with, is I camped out at the Fighter Hotel and tried to set up some interviews ahead of time as we got the cleaner in the background here. Apologies for that. And we got this music here too, which I'm sure is a bit odd. But, you know, so you know, I messaged Tyson Chartier, who's a manager for, you know, Calvin Kattar, Kyle Bochniak, and I was like, you know what, I'm gonna try and get some content at the hotel. So I ended up doing that. I got an interview with Ray Borg, who I happened to just see there, and you know, Ray and I had done an interview before, but Ray had just, you know, become a father since the last time we talked. He, you know, he has a baby boy now, and so I wanted to catch up to him and talk to him about that. So that turned out really good. And then you know, Rob Font was here, you know, supporting Calvin Kattar and all that. Got to talk to him. Got to talk to Calvin again, just about some stuff. And then Kyle, we did like a cool shoot. If you haven't seen it, go check it out up here on Fightful, where Kyle and I actually got to play Street Fighter 2. So my thinking was like, if I go to the presser, everyone else is going to be there. Everyone else is. You can't record video there of the presser, and also just the open workouts you can record. But I mean, I just didn't see the value in that. I'd rather get like unique content. So that's what I ended up doing at the hotel, was getting some content. I ended up getting, I think, 5 interviews. So that's what I did on that day. But you went to the presser.
Yeah. So I had a bit of a luxury this week. So I'm here like credentialed for the independent newspapers, but you know, I had to do video content for MMANytt. Like, you know, I'm allowed to do that because I'm a freelancer.
Yeah.
Anyway, so I had the luxury on Tuesday of getting that Khabib and Artem video. So our YouTube channel was blowing up. So I could have shot anything on Wednesday and it was going to do hits, right?
Yeah.
That's how the YouTube algorithm works. So, I mean, I went there. It was one of the best press conferences I've ever been at. Like, the atmosphere was incredible. Yeah, absolutely insane. I think some people who are watching it remotely on the YouTube stream were complaining it was too loud because you couldn't really hear what people were saying. And I guess but if you were there, I was just so impressed by Khabib and the way he spoke and the way just Max was almost like a perfect foil. There was respect. There was that press conference was astronomically better than the one we got yesterday.
Right. Okay. So that's interesting. So you have, you know, obviously all this build up, and then we go to Thursday, which is media day, and you think everything's business as usual. I actually, one thing I wanted to mention about the media day, did you find the press turnout a little bit low? I didn't find there was as much media as you normally get for these events. Like, just comparing it, for example, of like UFC 213 last year in Vegas. It seemed like there was way more.
In Vegas events, like, you know, everyone these days, like, traditionally, like, we do scrums, but the last few events over the last few years, like, when it's not a Conor McGregor fight week and there's not everyone in the world there, you can kind of do like, okay, you got about 4 or 5 minutes to do a one-on-one, right? That we could do that easily this week at UFC 223, which is supposed to be the biggest event of the year. Like, you could easily just do one-on-ones, and everyone was patient enough to do that. There was only a few scrums going on with like the bigger fighters, but it was like, I think you're right. It wasn't as many presses as I thought they'd be, because this is supposed to be the biggest one of the year so far.
Yeah, no, it's true. And
maybe it was the price. Maybe it was the price.
It could have been that. Yeah, no, you're definitely right about that. And a quick little thing here. So when people have been following me on Twitter and seen all the content I've been doing. By the way, I'm here accredited for Flow Combat. Talked about this last week on the show. I tried to apply under Fightful. I got approved for Fightful at 218, UFC 218 in Detroit. This one didn't approve me, so I had to go under Flow, which is fine, but just a little bit weird that they would approve me for one event and not another one. That's a story for another day. So I'm there for Flow Combat, and you know, I get there and I'm like, you know what? Khabib and Max Holloway, they're going to be bombarded with people for a scrum. It's good to get that content, but I thought, you know what? I want to get something with Joanna just right off the bat. So she was the first person I went to. So I camped out. And how this works is, like, if you get there early to these media events, you kind of have to stake your claim. Like, you put your tripod down at the seat of where they're sitting, and you say, look, I'm going to go first, because it really is sort of a dog-eat-dog.
I was first man in. I was like, Khabib.
No, you were smart. Actually, I think I initially had Holloway, and then I was like, you know what? It's going to end up being a scrum. Like, I'd rather get something with Joanna who's just as big, and get like an on camera with her, which I did. It turned out great. But here's the problem. And this sometimes happens at events, but you know, literally when I got there, because they opened the doors at 11. I think we didn't end up getting started until close to like 12. It was 12, like 12:15 maybe. It was a lot later. Anyhow, so I get there and I'm by myself. By the time we actually started, there was like, you know, 6 or 7 other tripods, media just surrounding me, right? And you're right. And I think they thought it was like going to be a scrum, so they're all just chilling out, and I'm like, no, I'm getting it on camera. Screw this. I got here early. I'm getting this on camera. So I walk to the front, start recording. Everything's good. But here's the weird thing, Jim. Everyone's recording me. Like, I can see them recording me. It's just super weird. I bet on some Polish website, some of Joanna's answers that I had in my interview are going to show up on there. all good, but it was still just weird trying to interview her. And then, you know, you want to be mindful of time. You don't want people to be like, you know, upset. So I got a good interview with her. I was happy with it. I just thought that was kind of interesting for her because I didn't have that with any other fighter.
I mean, I've got a lot of experience with the Polish press, right? I'm like pretty much I would say I'm probably the guy that covers KSW the most that speaks English. I think that's probably quite correct. And like, I have it's a weird setup, man. It's kind of a different mentality with the Polish press. They don't. It's real competitive. It's real competitive. Like us guys, like I think there's still competitiveness, but at the end of the day, like I'm not going to go and barge in.
No, we help each other out.
I'm not going to go like ruin your interview and start filming it because I know what the score is. But maybe it's the language barrier. I don't know what it is, but there's a very different mentality with some of the foreign press. I'm sure they're super friendly people, and like, I'm sure if I spoke Polish, we'd probably get on. But like, I will admit, sometimes when I go over there to Poland to cover these events, there is a bit of like frostiness.
Yeah, it's interesting to see how sort of different media approach everything as far as all that goes. One of the interesting things too, like for me, like you have to kind of gauge who you want to get. Like in my head, I'm thinking, okay, I'm looking for hits, but I'm also like for, you know, who's going to get like more hits and stuff. And you also got to think like, who am I going to get good content out of? Like, no offense to Renato Moicano, but I was like, I'm not going to get anything good from this guy. He doesn't speak a lot of English, so I knew to skip him. So my strategy, I'll just tell you quickly what I did, and then we'll get to you. So for my media day, I was like, I'm going to go for like the bigger names here. So I think I started with Joanna. I went with Felder because I knew I'd get good stuff from Felder. I know his camp quite well at Rufus Sport. I've interviewed a lot of those guys. And man, it got really quiet in here, by the way. I like that we got that. Hopefully people can hear us a little bit. Yeah, now we're really loud, but that's okay. We're taking over this lobby here. Yeah, we had to deal with a bunch of different stuff. So I got Felder, and then I think after that I got Rose, and there was a bit of a line for her, but I'm like, you know what? I want to get her. I've never spoken to her before. She's the champ. You know, I'll get some good stuff. And she was great. Like, I really enjoyed talking to her. But I think had I not got her, I probably could have got 2 more interviews instead of 1. I only ended up getting 4.
Sometimes you got to do that.
Yeah,
right?
so you got it. So for those of you who are watching out here, when you go to media day, you only get an hour. So you really have to gauge your time accordingly. So, I mean, I made the sacrifice for probably 2 interviews as opposed to 1, just with the time I had to get Rose. But I'm glad I did. But I remember leaving that day thinking, damn, I wish I would have got a little. I could have got a little bit more. So I ended up getting Rose. I got Anthony Pettis, and was that it? No, hold on. I got Felder, Joanna, Rose.
Okay.
No, I didn't get her, and yeah, that was it. I think I only got 4 total. So, you know, I normally, like, I remember last year at UFC 218, I got like a ton, and this one, it's just the way it works out. And yeah, it didn't end up. I mean, I was happy with the interviews, but I didn't get as much as I would have liked. But I was still happy with the interviews. What about you? Who did you?
Yeah, so when Khabib first, I was like, based on what I'd been doing, numbers.
And by the way, Khabib does numbers. Like, if people who are watching this in North America might think that he's well known to the hardcore MMA base, but overseas he does huge hits. Like, you watch my prospect videos, anytime they're with him, they're at least 20,000 views.
Yeah, it's crazy. But I will say this.
Yeah.
Max Holloway had more numbers than Khabib for me this week. I don't know why. I literally don't know why. I had like open
Maybe it's fresh content.
Max Holloway and Max Holloway open workout and Max Holloway interview did way more than not way more, but did more than Khabib, and that surprised me. But, so I did Khabib, I did Max, I did Joanna. I got a good round. I just got dealt a good hand. Like sometimes sometimes you have to wait. Sometimes someone's just started an interview, but it seemed like every time I went to a new person, that person was just finishing, and then I was on. So I got like Khabib, Max, Joanna, Ali Kinta, Kovalkiewicz, Felder, like pretty much everyone I wanted. So I was really happy with that.
So that's Thursday, and then media. No. Hold on. You didn't let me finish it. That was Thursday media day. Okay, so I'll tell you what I did after that. I talked to Calvin the day before, Calvin Cater, and Calvin saw my interview with Kyle, and he's like, "Hey man, I'd love to do something like that with Street Fighter and whatever." Because those who haven't seen it, I basically just played Street Fighter, and we filmed it with Kyle Bochniak. So Calvin wanted to do one. So the problem is though, and I don't know why they did this, Jim, but the Fighter Hotel is actually further away from the arena than our hotel is. So I basically left Barclays, walked all the way from Barclays to the Marriott, which is where Calvin was staying. And I'll tell you my perspective, then we'll get into the McGregor thing. So I'm walking with Steve. Steve loves video games like I do. So he helped me actually, shout out to Steve Jeffrey, by the way. He's the one who helped me film all those video game interviews I did. So a big shout out to him. So Steve and I are walking, and Brooklyn's, it's a pain in the ass to get around. Like, there's so many like streets that go diagonal and all this stuff. It's not the easiest thing. Anyways, it took us about, I want to say like 15 minutes to get there. We get to the Marriott, there's police everywhere. And I'm like, what the heck? And I check my phone, and Tyson, Calvin's manager, is like, man, check this out. There's been Connor like attacked the bus with all these people. And I'm like, what the hell? And I didn't think much of it at the time, but when I saw the police at the hotel, it was crazy. And then I hear from Tyson, get this, man. So this is how crazy the brawl is. I don't know if people know this. So initially, when they went to the media day, Calvin was in the same bus as Khabib.
Right.
Okay. On the way back, they assumed that they were going to be on the same bus as Khabib, but then they were told at the last minute, for some reason, they're like, no, you got to go on the other bus. Guess where Calvin was sitting? Where Michael Chiesa was sitting.
Wow.
So the crazy thing is, that could have been Calvin who could have been off the card this Saturday because with what happened with the glass breaking and everything. So it's kind of crazy to think. And it's funny, like I talked to Tyson after.
Did they say why they switched up the buses?
No, I think I don't know if he said specifically. Maybe he did, and I just forgot. But I don't remember him saying a specific reason. But he told me that they were supposed to be on that bus. So imagine like how that could have shaped up as far as everything that happened. But anyways, we got to get to your end of things because it's quite interesting what happened, because you were like kind of right near it. What happened?
Yeah, 100%. So here's the play-by-play. The stare downs end. Then it's like a media day. It's like it's not a mad rush to get your content up, but you want to be like getting the first few videos up pretty quickly, especially with your big hitters. So I'm sitting there like stare downs first. That's the way I do it. I always go stare downs and then my biggest interview. Yeah, that's how I think I've kind of worked it out over the years. So I'm sitting down there processing. To my left, I have Abby Subban, Matt Clive. Yeah. One seat down from him, Oscar Willis, Matt Clive. We're just sitting there, all editing. Next thing I know, I hear a bang, and I've hit the table. Sorry about that. Bang. A door being like flung open, and I see like 20 people, mostly dressed in black, but mostly tracksuits, running in. And for some reason, I don't know, maybe it was just instinct. I just whipped my card out of the laptop, picked up my camera, stuffed it in. I was like, I didn't even know what was going on. I thought, like, I don't know. Yeah, like, that's the journalist instinct mentality. I was literally, I just had no idea what I was doing. But then I just started running. It wasn't totally perfect. I wasn't Clark Kent here turning into Superman, but I knocked out my microphone on my camera. Yeah. So the video I did actually shoot didn't end up having sound because like my jack was like half in, so it's just static. Yeah, MMA journalist problems, right? Yeah. Oh, we've all been there when we've been doing an interview. We just talked about that before we got on here. It's kind of interesting. Anyways, continue the story because it's very interesting. Yeah. So then all these people are rushing in. I see Connor there. I'm like, oh my god, what is happening? And that's when I started filming. And then so they rush in. Now, what I didn't mention was that all the fighters who just completed the stare downs were moved about 30 feet to the right, where there was an elevator down into the bowels of the arena. Where they were getting packed into coaches to leave to go back to the fighter hotel. Now, when Connor and his crew came in, I'll say it. I mean, it's fact, and people can see it on video. There's UFC PR staff along there with them, directing them into the elevator. Yeah, I mean, did they want this to happen? This is on my video, so I've got no qualm saying it. There's one point in my video where Connor actually goes past the elevator and he gets called back. Now this is an interesting point here, because Dana made, like, if you watch what he says, it contradicts what Jim's just saying here in a way, because didn't he make it out like it was the Mac Life who sort of orchestrated all this? Well, that's what he's saying. Yeah. And allegedly, and like I want to add the word allegedly. Yeah, allegedly here. This is my version of events. I'm sitting down, I pick up my camera, I start filming. I see Connor, a load of people I recognize, Kean Cowley. You know, I won't say names. You know who they are. You know who they are. Charlie Ward, like you could hardly miss the guy running in. They get directed by people to the elevator. Just go check my video out. It's on MMANytt YouTube, and you'll see them. And the last person to walk into that elevator down with Connor's UFC PR stuff. Remember? So maybe they wanted. I mean, allegedly, speculation. Allegedly, people are saying this was a whole setup. I don't think it was. I think, to be honest, if you want my God's honest opinion, UFC PR staff were there. If I was them, 20 hoodlums from like Ireland, I'm probably not gonna try and stop them. No, of course not. That's and it was a woman as well. So like, exactly. I'm a man, and I wouldn't even dare like try and fucking stop them. So so we know what happens. It's just like sometimes I get very frustrated when like this picture gets painted sometimes by Dana about a situation, and it's not 100% like factual. Right.
So let's talk about so obviously we know what everyone's seen the video. If you haven't, you know what, they're throwing stuff, and obviously we see all these people off the card as a result. Michael Chiesa gets cut, Ray Borg gets glass in his eye. There's all these things. Reed, a UFC official, I guess, or someone who works for the UFC, broke his hand apparently. Actually, I can verify that because there was a guy in the cast. We saw that yesterday.
Saw him, man.
Yeah, we saw him
the day before, and he was fine.
Yeah,
and then I saw him the next day, and he's got a cast on his head.
So all this happens. And here's an interesting thing from a media perspective, which is already kind of a gray area as it is. We mentioned the Mac Life. So the Mac Life, for those who don't know, is Conor McGregor's media outlet that gets approved to UFC events. Talk about like a weird conflict of interest there, and to a certain degree. But because of this whole melee, they are banned now. Are they banned like for good, or are they just banned like for this event? What do we know about this? Is there anything we do know?
I do know,
What are you allowed to say? Let's put it that way.
It's not. I'm not allowed to say anything, so I don't want to say anything incorrect.
Right.
I'm very careful now. Like,
no, of course.
One thing I've learned, and maybe we'll talk about this later. Is like you gotta be 100%.
Yeah.
Like the story always comes out.
Yeah.
So yeah, I just don't. I don't know quite know what to say. I'm allegedly one of them. Let them in. I've not talked to that person yet. So until and that's another like tip. Like never take anything someone else said as factual.
Right.
Go speak to the person.
Yeah,
I'm not spoken to that person yet, so I don't really want to comment on it.
No, okay, fair enough.
I do know that 2 of them were sat down next to me editing video. So that 3 of them are credentialed. 2 of them were sat next to me when they burst in.
But they weren't at the weigh-ins yesterday.
They haven't been to a media event since what happened.
Yeah, and there would have been 2 things. There's early morning weigh-ins and then the real weigh-ins in the presser yesterday. So that's also worth noting.
They also didn't cover any of the court case.
Right. Well, yeah.
Obviously, but I'm not. You know what I'm saying, right? Maybe.
Yeah. Now, let me ask you this. So all this happens Thursday. All this is going down. So just to give my version of like, kind of on my end of things what happened. So I ended up going to the hotel, shooting the video with Calvin. Did I get anything else that day? I think it was just the one shoot with Calvin. I tried to get Mike Rodriguez. It just didn't work out. I think that was it as far as interviews for that day. We just got the one, and then I was starving, got some lunch, and then came back and had to edit. And thank God, I got to give Jim props here. So they have really good Holiday Inn, no offense, not very good Wi-Fi here. So we went across the street and even hotel in Brooklyn.
90 up.
Yeah, super good Wi-Fi. So that literally saved me hours as far as cutting up stuff, because I had to cut up all my media day interviews, and also cut up the interview I did with Calvin playing playing Mortal Kombat. And so anyways, all this sort of happens, whatever. Now, is there a thought in your head? Because I saw you at the hotel after that. Now, were you thinking at that point to go to the courthouse? Because I know some people, like Aaron, our friend from TSN, he ended up doing that. Ariel went there. Was there ever a thought there? Or were you just thinking, you know what, I'll just be on standby?
The thing was with this fight week, there was loads of dice you had to throw. You had to you had to make decisions, and decisions meant time, and time was like precious these last few days, because you needed to be active. If you wanted to maximize what was happening from a media perspective, you needed to be creating content, and a lot of the time, unfortunately for all of us, we were sat for hours doing nothing.
Yeah.
So what happened to me after that was, and I guess this is probably good for the podcast and relevant, is that I'm a freelancer, right? So in the UK, pretty much a lot of the papers and a lot of the big news outlets know my number.
Right.
So as soon as something goes down, like Conor McGregor jumping into a cage or Conor McGregor throwing something through a bus, they come to me. They're like, okay, what have you got for us? So you can just imagine my inbox just went crazy. I can't remember how many radio spots I've done. I was on TSN with Aaron.
Yeah, which is huge in Canada, the biggest sports network. So
yeah, so I mean, just countless stuff. Like Independent wanted me to do like almost hourly video updates for them, just sending them video, like talk to us about what's happening. And that for me this week has been a massive thing I've learned of, like, what I really enjoy is literally just sitting in front of a camera for like 5 minutes and giving people that aren't in and around Brooklyn, on the ground, like reaction, like not only what's happened, but how does it feel, what's the sentiment, what could happen next, who's moving where. Because sometimes I can imagine when you're sitting at home, that's the picture you don't get. It's like, just paint me the picture of what everything looks like whilst you're there.
So you'll notice with me, I didn't do anything Conor McGregor related, and that's not because I didn't want to do it. I mean, there was part of me was like, I should do a reaction video, this and that. I'm more concerned, at least at the time I was, of getting my content up and doing that. And I have the luxury, being here with Flow Combat, because Hunter, he's doing all that. So I let Hunter do that, and just no, and that's fine because like
Yeah.
he knows I'm trying to get original content, trying to get unique stuff. I let him handle all the Connor stuff. So people are watching this and they're like, "Was this week stressful for you?" It wasn't that bad because like I'm kind of doing my own thing. I'm trying to do different stuff than everyone else because everyone's going to do Connor stuff, everyone's going to do this and that, and Hunter sort of covered that for Flow. So that's why I didn't do any reaction videos. I thought about it. Trust me, I was like, you know what, I should maybe take some time, do this or whatever. But no, I decided to not do that. And yeah, I mean, the bases are being covered for Flow.
That's the thing is, right? The thing is, and people can sometimes criticize. Oh, you're so. Get this. When I was at the press conference the other day, I asked Dana about Connor. I said, like, you've just said Connor's not planning to be here. Like, did you tell him not to be here? And the amount of people that came onto my Twitter were like, just stop talking about Connor. He's not relevant.
Yeah,
and then
of
look
course,
what happened.
yeah, exactly.
So it's like, but it's like you have to, as a media member, and like, I really respect what you do because it is unique and it is cool. But like, as a media outlet, like you, as you said, you have the luxury of two of you being there. You have to cover Connor.
Yeah, exactly.
We're here to report news, and that's like what you're doing is kind of putting the cherry on top of the cake because it's like, yeah, you can have all the baseline stuff, but here's something extra, here's something special.
Yeah.
And it's like no one else has this, and that's good. That's a great way to do this. That's a really good way to do it from Flow Combat.
So now remind me now Thursday evening, because I remember, okay, so Jim and I are like literally working at the hotel across the street. I get all my stuff done, and I'm gonna go out this night because it's like, you know what, who knows if I'm gonna get a chance to do this. So I hit up a barcade. People know I'm a big retro gamer and all that, and we ended up going downtown to check out a comedy show and all that in Manhattan. So I wanted to make the most of that night. Now I remember talking to you. You were like, I got to be on standby in case something happens. So what was your Thursday night like? I'm curious because I don't even know at this point. What did you end up doing? Yeah,
sucked,
I know, because you have to kind of wait around. I was
literally in a hotel, just sat there on the fast Wi-Fi, doing radio shows, shooting videos, doing like Skype calls. Like, it was just crazy. It was just crazy. Like I said, like when you're the point guy, and pretty much is only like, well, it's only me from the UK here, right?
Yeah.
I'm literally the only guy.
That's
so
true.
I
didn't even think of that.
I'm literally the point guy.
Yeah.
Like, and that's why everyone kind of came to me on the BBC World Radio. Like, just everything. Everyone wanted to, and I couldn't do it all, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
So it was like it was crazy. I think that night I got into my bed at like 3:30 and woke up at like about 20 minutes past 4, like panicking because I'd lost 50 minutes. Like that's how crazy it was, right?
Yeah. And then, of course, the next day we have the early morning weigh-ins, and
you gotta love the early morning weigh-ins, right?
Yeah, that's what's so funny about covering these fight weeks is that like usually Thursday you have media day, so you have a lot of content you have to put up, and usually you want to go out after that, so you're up super late, and then you got the early morning weigh-ins, which normally they're at like 8, they were at 9 then, and you think and honestly the way the weigh-ins were going, I mean, I'll kind of just fast forward. So the early morning weigh-ins happen at the Marriott at the Fighter Hotel. You're like me. You like to get there super early to get a good spot. Yeah. You actually had the best view. I mean, I saw your videos and I was like, shit, I should have got.
I know. I literally wouldn't. I would always be the first person there. Me and John Morgan are like,
always there.
Always there first.
So the weigh-ins, so the weigh-ins are going on. One thing that always kind of annoys me, it's kind of just first world problems, I guess, for journalists. They never have plugs there. So literally, like I'm trying to edit on the fly, but my battery's dying. So you have to kind of keep that in mind as far as when you're editing. So the weigh-ins are happening. And everyone's going, and it's going like silky smooth as far as like everything. Well. And you're thinking this is going all well and all this stuff. And then we find out in the middle of it that Max Holloway is deemed unfit by the commission, which, by the way, I see later that they didn't even have a doctor make that call. It's just the commission. Did you see that?
It wasn't a doctor. It was one person on the commission. So it wasn't even like the New York State Athletic Commission took a stand against Max Holloway cutting the weight. It was one of the officials who went and like just checked on him. It was like, okay, no, you're looking on well.
Yeah,
you're not allowed to cut the weight. That's it. Fight off. And like Max wanted to cut the weight. He got down to 159.
Yeah.
And we don't know what he looked like. So maybe and again, it's like I haven't talked to Max. I haven't talked to the official that pulled him off. So I'm not going to give a very strong opinion on it. It sounds ridiculous on the face of it, but what did we do? Maybe that official went and saw Max and he was looking like really bad.
Yeah, we don't know, to be honest.
Exactly. So do you know what I mean? That's what I was talking about earlier. Like sometimes you can take things at first glance and it sounds ridiculous, but maybe it was a good call.
Yeah, we don't know. So anyways, all this stuff's happening with the weigh-ins. Basically from my perspective, I'm filming, they make like a highlight pack, and then if there's anything like unique that happens for a particular weigh-in, like for example, like I got Brandon Moreno weighing in because he just needs to get paid. I thought that was kind of interesting, just showing him weighing in and being like, he's got to get paid even though his fight's off. So all this is happening and I'm basically editing on the fly as all this is going on. Cause usually like you'd think, the weigh-ins are 2 hours and you think, oh, you'll get out at a good time, but they always run late. It's like a given. So you just have to be mindful of that. But anyways, So we find out Holloway's out, and literally just like you guys at home on Twitter and everything like that, we're getting updates on Twitter everywhere. You're live streaming all this, and we're waiting around. And you know, let's just sort of talk about that, like us not knowing. The UFC is supposed to make a statement, and they keep saying it's gonna happen. I mean, we were there till like I think like 2 o'clock.
Yeah, like I mean, it got to the. I don't know. I think I was sleep deprived at that point. I shut down my Facebook live stream for some reason. I don't know why. I just started Instagram living it.
Yeah.
You remember that? We went about 5 Instagram live sessions, which was good fun.
Which is a record, I'm sure.
Yeah, it was good fun as well. Yeah, I mean, it was just a crazy weigh-in. I mean, I like looking at back at the content I produced from that. I didn't actually produce like a weigh-ins highlight because it was so like fragmented.
Yeah.
In how things played out, it wouldn't have made sense if like I just put my video up.
Yeah, no, I agree.
So I just cut a few like videos. Like I think that my most viewed was like Anthony Pettis making 155.2.
Same with
me. It got like 85,000 views, and it's like. It's totally irrelevant.
I know.
He's not fighting. He made 100. So what? Anthony Pettis weighed in, and like we have, like it's been like that this week, hasn't it?
Yeah, and so you know, all these fighters weigh in. We don't know who's going to fight. We're checking Twitter. We're seeing updates and stuff like that. UFC sort of keeps coming out and teasing us, saying, "Hey, they're going to make."
Hey, just one more minute.
Yeah, just one more minute. Hey, it's going to make an announcement.
Just one more.
So it's funny, like. I mentioned about my laptop losing battery life, so I'm like running back to like charge it and try and edit because like I want to do work while I'm waiting. Like I don't want to just sit around. So I actually had to get Jim. I was like, Jim, if you see anything, actually Jim filmed my Anthony Pettis thing for me because my laptop was charging. That's some teamwork right there.
That's the terrible camera work at Jim Edwards.
No, it's
panicking when I couldn't zoom in. I was switching it.
No. You didn't need to zoom in. It was all good. It all worked out. But yeah, so this is all happening. So yeah, they come. Then finally the official comes out and says, hey. Listen, do you guys want to meet up at like 2:30 and we'll make an announcement? And John Morgan pipes in, and I don't blame him because he's like, look, man, like if as soon as you guys know, let us know because we want to be the first to break the story. We don't want it to get leaked out. So good on John for kind of making that call.
Yeah.
But at this point, from my perspective, I'm there with Hunter. I'm like, dude, I got to eat lunch and I got to do this shoot with Greg Rebello doing I was playing the NHL 94. So I kind of made that call where I was like, you know what, I'm gonna grab some lunch. I'll come back, and sure enough, after lunch, I come back. I see you in the hotel lobby, and I'm like, "What's going on?" And you're like, "Oh, now they said they're just going to email us a statement." So there's a lot of media who's had to sit there for hours just waiting on the announcement.
Yeah. So the option was yesterday. The option was you go to the early morning weigh-ins and stay, or you go to the courthouse for McGregor.
Yeah.
And speak to the people that were at the courthouse, they were like, damn, we should have been at the early weigh-ins. And you speak to the people at the early weigh-ins, they're like, damn, I should have been at the courthouse. So essentially what happened, there was just a lot of, like I was saying earlier, it's like a lot of waiting around, feeling like we're wasting time. There wasn't anything to get.
No.
Like everyone that was at the courthougse, like, I don't know if you watched the Conor McGregor, like, the actual like appearance, but it was quick. It was a beautiful live stream. It was like 4K.
Yeah, I know.
It was like 4K. I'm sitting there just like watching that. And like you're like, obviously you can actually use that content because it's public content.
Yeah,
you can literally just download it 2 seconds afterwards, upload it. So it was like actually there was no reason to be there. Yeah, and, like he literally like the people that were there got like I think Aaron Bronsteter at TSN. He was like, oh man, look at this video I got of Conor, and it's not even 1 second of him in the camera. He just walks behind someone else.
No, it's true. And yeah, and then so I mean, and then as all this is going on, you know, I'm doing the shoot with Greg Rebello. I come back, I do some more work, and I'm kind of just checking social media just on a whim, seeing what the latest is. And then of course we find out Ala Quinto. When did you find out about Ala Quinto?
I know a few people announced the team.
So you knew ahead of time.
I kind of like knew that it was working. Obviously, when like it's not as easy, and sometimes I can wonder how people do it. It's just like these guys are trying to sort out contracts in like the heat of the moment, and I am texting them, and I often feel guilty texting them. They must have so many people trying to contact them. Mm-hmm. But yeah, like I knew a few people announced the team, and they were like, yeah, it looks like it's going to be out. Yeah, that's all I got, and then it was like. So then that means like when you have that, I was just said to Damon, who like big shout out to Damon Martin, who works on my site MMANytt, because he's kind of been in the background, like just almost like gluing all the pieces of like separate content I've been putting up together, and like he's been like fact checking. It's just really useful to have someone kind of like away and remote working that can help you piece it all together. Anyway, I just said to him like, look, we're probably going to see this fight, and then I think he went away as well and confirmed it as well. So he already had the article written up, and like it's just stuff like that. We were pretty hot on the Ike Inter stuff.
Yeah, and so that all happens. We ended up going out last night to the Middle Easy meetup, which again, if you're media and you're here, it's good networking opportunity, good to sort of swap stories, see what's going on. We had a really good time last night. And
the press conference was fascinating.
Oh yeah, that's right. Sorry, I forgot because I didn't go. I actually went for a nap. So again, Hunter went to that. Hunter went to Hunter Homestead. Shout out to Hunter from Full Combat. He went to the presser. I went back for a nap because I was up the night before, and the nap was great. I got a couple hours sleep because I knew I was going to be out that night. So yeah, tell me about the presser as far as from your perspective.
From my perspective, oh man, I told you what happened, right?
I can't remember. Maybe.
So RDA Covington.
Okay. Yeah. Oh, right. The question. Yeah.
Yeah, man, it kills me.
Yeah.
Kills me. Absolutely kills me. So obviously you'll know before Khabib, Al, and Dana did like a mini little press conference before.
Yeah.
So when that ended, I was then straight into the laptop, starting editing, like trying to like sort it out and get it uploaded. Of course, while this is all happening, the other press conference starts. And then I get handed the microphone second. I didn't signal for the microphone. After John Morgan asked his questions and everyone had been introduced, obviously it had been reported by like ESPN, MMA Fighting, everyone and their dog earlier in the week that Covington's fighting RDA in Brazil. So then, unfortunately, that got switched and it got announced as the press conference started.
Right. Which, I mean,
I should have seen that, and B, I should have been listening to John Morgan, who asked about it to begin with. I was just too busy in the edit.
Yeah.
And then I got handed the microphone. First question, Dana, like, are you sure about? I pretty much just said, are you taking any safety precautions ahead of like taking Colby back to Brazil?
Right.
And, like Dana White was just like, you idiot! This fight just got announced for Chicago.
Yeah,
so then,
I mean, okay, and in Jim's defense, I mean, when you're on these fight weeks, you're so busy doing stuff. Like sometimes you miss things. Like even like I don't think what people realize, and I've talked about this before. When you're covering events and you're doing the interviews in the back, sometimes like you miss things in fights because you like let's say hey we've got we've got such and such after their fight, and then they do a media scrum and there's another fight going on, so it's you're having to multitask. It's not as easy as people think when they're like, oh, what an idiot, this and that. It's like you try and do it, you guys. Like seriously, it's not easy.
And to be quite fair, like I didn't have too many people being awful about it. But like when you're in that moment, you can either do one or two things. You can like totally sink and then just be like, oh, pass the microphone on. But then afterwards, like
you're
okay,
veteran,
like just went straight to Leon Edwards and like just like talk about like press conferences. Like you ask questions sometimes. Like how do you approach that? Do you write like a list of questions down like I know some people do?
No, and I don't and people might be surprised to hear this. Even going into media day, I don't really I kind of want it. It's two reasons. Number one, it's forcing you to listen to it's forcing you to listen to their answers more. And two, like I just sort of I do so many interviews that I sort of have like a couple in the bag that I sort of rely on. Honestly, when I do the press conference, I think of two things. The first thing I think is I don't want to say anything stupid because there's so many people on the live stream. So that's number one. I want to make sure if I ask a question, it's going to be something good. And number two, I just want to make sure that it's something that's going to be different or something that like you have like basically when you go to these things, you have to have like 20 questions kind of in your head that you have to make up on the fly because
John Morgan's going to ask 10.
Yeah, because exactly. So you always have to sort of be prepared for that. But no, I like doing the press conference stuff, but it is a little nerve wracking because like there's so many eyeballs on you. It's not like in a media day thing where like just the fighter can hear you mess up something. It's like you've got the fighters, the press, everyone watching on the live stream. So you got to be kind of mindful.
It is what it is, though, man. You've got to put yourself out there to like kind of get more known, right? And like, I've got no qualms with like making a few mistakes as long as you own them. And like be like, hey, I'm still learning. I'm by no means an expert at this game. I said it to everyone I talk to. I'm just learning. I've learned so much this week. And I think like, I think you get more comfortable with it. And personally, I don't like public speaking, but I keep doing this because I want to overcome it. It helps me like more and more I do it, the more I feel comfortable. I can imagine like maybe if I'd done what I did yesterday, a few years ago, I probably would have melted and just been like, and like just tried to pass the microphone on straight away. But I like tried to roll with the punch almost.
You got it.
Well, whatever.
Can't show that fear and vulnerability.
Move on. And I just think those press conferences, if like there's anyone watching that like thinks like, okay, if I find myself in that situation and going to a press conference, I'd say just maybe the first few times do think of a few questions you want to ask, but then maybe wait for the mic to go around a few times and then look at what's happened before and then try and
be observant though. Like that's a big thing. Just try and kind of sort of gauge what questions have been asked, what hasn't been asked. I mean, in the back of my pocket, every single time I go to a presser, Canada's always on my mind. I mean, it should be. Like, I'm a Canadian journalist. you know, they haven't announced officially anything for this year. So I always kind of have that in the back of my head. But usually it's stuff that's kind of like topical or whatever. So,
but even if like Kamaru Usman's spending his whole time chirping at Colby Covington, like the go-to question, if I hadn't had a microphone, would have been Santiago Ponzinibbio. Like, how do you feel about Kamaru Usman? Like, literally not saying a word about your fight, but literally just focusing on Colby Covington. Like, it's just things like that. Like, observe. And that's the number one tip, I think. If you ever, like, if you're covering these events for the first time or you're not that experienced covering events, go to an event and be an observer.
yeah,
watch what other people do. Watch people like John Morgan, watch Ariel, watch people that like Lynch as well, like people that have been on the beat for a long time. Another guy, Danny Austin, like a veteran, like proper newspaper journalist.
Yeah.
No, watch how they act. Watch how they speak to people. Watch how they interact with people and what they do, and also note what they don't do.
I agree.
That's my top tip.
I like the advice. We're gonna quickly go here to the chat and wrap things up here. You know, we got the card in about 8 hours here, so there isn't. If you guys want to see a preview of the card, yeah, go check out Jim's stuff on MMANytt. So let's see. Oh wow, we got a lot of things on here. Frosty the Snowman says the noise in the camera adds to the ambience in the show.
Thank you.
Thank you. That's good to hear. He says I bet the UFC had a lowballing contest between Pettis and Raging Al.
I don't think so. I don't think Al would have settled for a low ball.
Yeah, he says Khabib says he's fighting for history. What is he talking about? Would he be the first?
It's history, man.
Well, history in the sense that would he be the first Muslim fighter to win a UFC title?
I don't want to go there.
I don't recall. Anyways, we'll have to fact check that. In the last 5 years, he's fought Daryl Horcher, Michael Johnson, Esmer Barbosa. If he wins tonight, he will be a phony champ. I don't agree with that. Khabib's fought some tough guys. I mean, Michael Johnson had come off the win over Poirier. That was big, and you know, he sort of mauled him. We're not going to read that other comment. A little bit racist there. It's okay. How crazy with this week? It was pretty crazy. There was more coverage at the courthouse than there was out the way in. Maybe Connor's a bigger star now. Yeah, but not for the right reasons. What do we got here? A lot of stuff retracted. You people spamming this thing. What's going on here? Here's what I don't understand. Why was the commission monitoring Max's? I don't understand.
They always do. They always have to have like checks in with like how things are going. So in the morning, especially when they wake up. So actually, when they first get to the event, they get weighed in. Like 24 hours before, I think they have another weigh in. It's just a constant monitoring of their weight. And then, of course, they probably would have weighed him again in the morning. They decided to pull him.
And by the way, Frosty the Snowman's the one who's asking these questions. Frosty, man, you always tune into my stuff. I really appreciate it. He asked, why didn't Max fight at 159, still under the 161 limit? Something doesn't sound right.
But it depends on how he got pulled for being unwell.
Yeah, exactly. That's sort of what it was there as far as all that goes. And plus, I think, well, I guess they still could have made it for the title. Just Max couldn't have won it. I mean, what's the incentive for Max? I don't know. What do we got here? It says Max could have given Khabib whooping, being a couple pounds heavier. I don't think he'd give him a whooping. It would be a close fight for sure. But we got somebody calling me the P word. That's okay. Thanks for watching.
Thanks for the view.
I heard they made Al sign a new deal in order to fight this extortion by the UFC. It's what they're trying to do to James Vick, and they're going to starve him into a bad deal. Well, I don't know if you know anything about. Did Al have to sign a new contract? Do we know that?
I don't know that.
Yeah, we'll have to investigate that.
Whirlwind,
yeah,
it's a good question. Maybe we'll ask it tonight.
Exactly.
I know he'd only just signed another new deal before this fight, right?
Look at this idiot here trying to talk crap to people in the chat, man. Come on, man. You gotta find better things to do. How do you think the UFC will figure things out if Al wins tonight? That's a good question from Joseph B. What do you think?
Well, we got no answers at the press conference yesterday. Supposedly he's the UFC champion and he's going to get a belt put around his waist, but he's not going to be the UFC champion. That makes any sense. But then again, we do have another UFC lightweight champion, Conor McGregor. Oh, and by the way, we have an interim UFC lightweight champion.
I thought Tony got stripped though. What happened there? I don't know.
Does anyone know?
No one knows. All right, I think we got the questions here. Jim, let's wrap things up here.
Nice.
You know, it's so glad to get you on here on the show. You know, you're doing some great work. I think when it comes to the UK scene and just in general, I mean, I think one thing that you and I sort of have in common is the hustle. You know, I think you really, if you want to, you know, make some money out of this, it's not like we're trying to be millionaires here, but if you want to do a good job with the sport and you want to sort of make a name for yourself, you got to hustle. We all make mistakes. We all have, you know, things that we sort of go through in this industry, but no, it's good. You're You're doing some
You've got
great
to
work.
accept criticism.
Yeah,
You've got
and
to
oh yeah,
learn.
and that's a
you've got
big
to be
thing too.
prepared to learn.
Yeah, and we both get, you know, crapped on all the time for various reasons, but you got to have a thick skin in this industry if you want to survive, and don't take stuff personally. Don't act unprofessional. Like just leave. Someone writes something shitty, hit the mute button.
Exactly, and I think like maybe, especially like a year ago, I would have been confrontational, and I always used to go after people, and I was like, because I thought at the time, like, oh, if I let people like try and like just send bad stuff to me and I don't acknowledge it and stuff like that, they'll think they'll keep on doing it because they'll trample on me. It's like a bully, right?
Yeah.
Actually, on social media, it's almost the opposite. You don't like if you just ignore the people, mute them, they go away.
That's true.
All they want is attention, and you don't give them attention, you starve them with their oxygen. So it's that's
a really good way of putting it.
It's a good way to do it.
Good stuff. Just remind people where they can get a hold of you on social media. Anything you got coming up that they can check out before the fight, and anything you got coming up maybe next week that people can check out.
Our preview show, which
100%.
Which I'm praying has been processing while we
Yes.
That'll be up shortly on MMANytt.com. There's a load of videos on there as always. Very very cool thing today. I did an interview, a Skype interview with Ally Kinter 2 years ago today. Literally 2
Oh,
days.
wow. Oh, I saw you put that up on the channel.
April 7th, 2016. Ally Kinter talking about fighting Khabib Nurmagomedov. It's a funny video. It's only a short clip, but go watch that. You can find me at MMA_Jim on everywhere.
And guys, if you have the chance, check out my interviews over on Fightful. I've been doing some stuff while I'm here. The video game one has been getting a lot of good feedback. I want to hear your feedback on that. I want to do more of that stuff. Try and think outside the bubble as far as interviews go. And check out all my coverage this week at UFC 223 up on flowcombat.com. This week, I'm going to be having a lot of stuff for the UFC Glendale card. I've done a bunch of interviews for that that you can find on both on Fightful and on SI MMA and Fansided. So check those out. And we'll be back this Thursday for another episode, back at our normal time. Apologies for moving this around. Apologies for the no mic and the webcam and the ambient noise, but we wanted to make this happen, and I'm so glad I got Jim because he's been doing some great work here this week. So we'll see you on Thursday, guys, and thanks everyone for watching as I close the window there, and now I'm trying to close it here good, and have a good weekend, guys. Enjoy the card tonight.